right, y'all. Welcome back. Happy Wednesday. Tony Vitello is leaving Tennessee to go to the San Francisco Giants. And obviously, it's tough. I know that there's a lot of all fans that's taking it really, really hard. It's just one of those situations, man. So I'm going to give my thoughts on it. Of course, over the course of this video, we're going to be getting y'all's thoughts and letting y'all vent. But also want to get to our game coming up this weekend and to do, I'm not going to do like the real full keys and all that, but we'll definitely be getting to that, in just a second. But just like opening thoughts on Tony V, obviously what he's done with Tennessee is incredible. I mean, our baseball program, I'm not going to say that it was nothing, but it was not in the spot that it's at right now. There's been some rumors out there that maybe he was upset with lack of like resources with revenue sharing, with NIL. I don't know how true any of that is, but what I can tell you is that if he's had really good classes, I don't know that it's probably not as big of a factor as some people are saying. Obviously, he has a great personality. Players wanted to play for him. And I mean, baseball is just going to be, especially for like SEC programs, for most Power 4 programs, it's not going to get a ton of funds allocated to it. You know what I mean? Just because it doesn't really generate revenue. I mean, it generates revenue, but it doesn't turn a profit. So I'm not quite sure exactly if any of that stuff is true with those rumors. I'm not exactly sure what he wanted. Of course, coaches probably always ask for more. I think that's pretty normal. That just makes sense to me. But I don't know how much of an issue that actually was. I just think that it's a situation where such a good coach, and a lot of folks are mad at Danny White, but you got to give him credit for going out and hiring Tony V and getting our baseball program to the point that it's at right now. But for him to be such a good coach, I don't know, he might be like the first guy to go from college to the show. I mean, that's a huge deal. Says a lot to me about Tennessee's baseball program and where it's at now. Because, yeah, I mean, I don't think that there's ever going to be another Tony V, but we're at least at a point now where there's some like relevance, where players know about Tennessee, where we've upgraded several things, like Lindsey Nelson. It's getting upgraded. That's going to be good for us moving forward. I don't know who we're going to hire. I have no real idea. I know that some folks have talked about one of the coaches that's already on the staff. That might be a good look. I mean, but hey, we could also maybe go out and get somebody else. I don't know. But I do think that the baseball program, I mean, some guys might try to transfer out, but from my understanding, they would have to sit out for this entire year if they want to do that. So I don't know if they would do it. I think that they'll probably stay put. I think that we'll still have a good team. And I think that we still have a shot because the talent should still be there. And I don't know how much of actual coaching. Obviously, there's some things that you do with baseball. I'm not a real baseball guy. But it's not like football or I don't think even basketball where the coaching really, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. Can you go out and get the talent? Some of the other stuff, I mean, shifting the infield and all that, like what's your batting order and things like that. Just like some of those types of, to me, that's kind of like, I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know how much of a difference that actually makes, honestly. But that's just me. It could make a huge difference. I don't know. It just doesn't really seem like it personally. So the whole point here is sucks, but, Tony V is gone. I guess he's wanted to go to the bigs, probably getting paid more money. He's going to be on a much larger stage. And, I personally, I'm wishing him well. I hope that he goes up there. I hope that he does well. It'd be nice for him to, win your World Series. And I'm a Braves fan. Of course, I always want us to win it. But if he can do it, that's great. Maybe he goes and wins one and then he wants to come back. So for me as a fan, I'm only going to wish him well so that, I'm not burning bridges. You know what I mean? Because that could also hurt us with the next coach. Because we have to find somebody else. And I'm damn sure not going to be trying to push out Danny White. Because I think he's done an excellent job with all of our programs. Everybody's good. This is the everything school now. So, but that's just me. I know that other people feel different ways. So I'm going to let y'all get to y'all's thoughts and everything and just kind of vent. Let me pull this up for y'all real quick. This is just showing, and let me get on over here. All right, so boom. This is just showing what Tennessee's done pretty much over the course of, time. And you can see that obviously Tony V won us our only World Series, which is huge. But then you look at some of the other accolades. He was hired, I think, in 2018. But you can see all the stuff that we've got, like just a lot of accolades since he's been here, a lot of good stuff. So obviously he will be missed. He's done some excellent things for this program. But as I stated earlier, and I sincerely believe it, and people say it all the time, I don't know how much people really buy into it. is nobody bigger than the power T or not, right? I mean, if no one's bigger than it, then we're gonna be fine. Like we should still be cheering for Tennessee. If you're a baseball fan, if you love Tennessee baseball, you should still be cheering for them. And but that's just where I'm at. So let me go on ahead and get into some of these chats because I see there's a lot of them coming in. I know that there's going to be a ton of thoughts. I'm gonna try to get through as many as I can. So this one right here, yeah, bro, it is official. Yeah, hey, I think that's a good attitude to have, bro. Really do. Dylan is saying that this hurts, but we can't act like Tony didn't earn it for sure. Just wish that we put up more of a fight to keep him. Now, and that's the part of it that I don't know. You might have more information on this than I do. I have no idea how much we tried. I'm sure that we tried, but it's just like think about it, like college baseball, the resources for college baseball versus one of the best MLB programs in the history of the game. Okay, like it's not going to be the same type of resources. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's like, you know what, would you rather, I mean, I don't even want to throw it. I mean, it's some things are just kind of like obvious, right? I mean, it just kind of is what it is. P and I think we said this like a little while ago, talking about Tony V. Whenever the rumors first started that he might be leaving, we said that if he gets offered the job, he's probably going to go. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't be realistic to think that he's going to stick in college baseball. But like I said, he could still always come back. All right. So this right here from Jeff, he's saying that okay, so that's the other coach. That's the other coach. Okay. And hey, you could be right on that too. You could be right on that. Maybe that's the move. I have no idea. But I do trust Danny White because Danny White brought us Tony V. He's brought us all these great coaches. So he knows and he can see it before I think a lot of other people can. He can see the greatness early on. I mean, just think about all the coaches that he's hired. Like he's giving them chances. Like they weren't necessarily at the biggest programs and things like that. But he sees the talent. So whoever he picks, I think that we're going to be fine with. It might be a little bit of a period where I don't even think that we'll fall off too much because the talent is there. But also he has to, whoever he or she, whoever the coach is, they have to get in their players too. If it's not somebody that's already on this staff. But like you said, Jeff, that might be Tennessee's best move. So this one is saying, go win a World Series, Coach Tony V. Yeah, I love that. That's excellent energy. All right. Oh, Danny didn't hire Tony. Yeah, you know what? I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so Danny didn't hire Tony. Yes, I can't give him credit for it. I can't give him credit for it. That is true. That's a fact. But he's saying that he kept him and Rick Barnes when he took over. Yeah, okay. You know what? That's true. So Danny White. Now I was thinking, I was like, shoot, has Danny White been here since 2018? It didn't feel like it. But thank you for clearing that up. So this one's saying first ever college baseball head coach to be elevated directly to a manager in the MLB with no prior experience. Yeah, that's a huge. I mean, I guess it's a huge jump. Really, kind of feels like I don't know how. Is it tougher to coach in the bigs than it is versus coaching in college? I mean, because you don't have to necessarily babysit it as much. Like the pros are just pros. They kind of like come and go. I think it's just more about can you build a team. I don't know how much of the rah-rah stuff's going to work on that level, but yeah, I mean, maybe it's a little bit of in some ways, a little bit of an easier job. And yeah, he's probably getting paid more money. Obviously, he's going to be put on a even bigger stage. So Danny has done awesome. Yeah, I think so too. Also, Dylan saying that the worst case is that he falls flat with the Giants and Arkansas hires him in 5 years. Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be possible too. I don't know. I mean, I would think that maybe he would want to come back to us. And also we have to think how's the new coach going to be doing. But maybe, maybe he ends up somewhere else in college baseball. But it just is what it is, y'all. Like this is a business, and people do all that talking and stuff. Like that's one of my things. I'm not a super rah-rah guy anyway, just because it is a business. You know what I'm saying? Like people will talk all that stuff while they're here, and I'm definitely not taking a shot at Tony V. Because I think that while he's here, he is locked in. He's been locked in the whole time, still going to practice and still going out, visiting prospects and everything else. I think he's been locked in this entire time. But it's like, you have to understand, man, like the bottom line is about winning. It's about having the resources to pay the people that we need, whether that's coaches, whether that's players. That's just how things work these days. All right. And people will leave for whatever situation they feel like suits them better. That's just life. But with all that being said, I do want to start to get into, and actually let me get to this one right here. real quick. But hey, look, we will come back and we will continue to talk about Tony V. But I do want to move on and start talking about the Wildcats. All right, so this one right here from Dylan is saying that something of note just came out. He's taking a pay cut to join the Giants. Oh, wow. Now, that is interesting. That's very interesting. If he's taking a pay cut, that says a lot. I'm not quite. Maybe it's also just because he wants to be on a bigger stage too. I don't know, but yeah, maybe all the rumors and stuff about him and Danny White, the little riff that people are saying, maybe that's true. I can't tell you one way or the other because I have no idea. All right, so this one's also saying, any tell on, yeah. I mean, shoot, he's been. I would say that. I mean, he played well last weekend. I've already started watching him play, and he looked a lot better last weekend than he did the first weekend versus Texas when he came off of the injury. Looked like he's back. Throwing the football well. That's going to be a tough matchup. That one's going to be tough for sure. They do a lot of things that can give Tennessee trouble. But let's go ahead and jump into basically like what my keys are. It's going to be a different format. And let me also tell y'all this. We typically would be doing, our Wednesday night chat, right? So we typically would be doing that tonight. I know that we missed it last weekend. We might miss it again this weekend. I'm sorry, not last weekend, but last week. We might miss it again today, possibly, because I forgot that it's my birthday. So whenever I told y'all that yesterday, I wasn't even thinking, well, you know what? I might have some other things that I had to get to. So I'm not showing it yet. But if we don't do it, y'all do make sure to go and check out Ruck's channel at Straight Up Tennessee. All right, because he has his. I think it starts at about 8:30. The biggest thing that I wanted to get to is just everybody's thoughts and seeing how people like view this matchup. I think it's pretty straightforward. We gave y'all a pretty good breakdown on it yesterday. It's not, there's really not much for me to add to it, but I wanted to see how the injuries look because Arion Carter might not be playing. I'm not quite sure if he's going to miss this week and maybe be back for Oklahoma, or if he sits out for like the next month. Which for me, I'm not a doctor, okay, but I think that he needs to take some time off because he's really not able to play up to his highest level because he has 2 turf toes. So that's going to be interesting because I think that this game coming up this weekend, a lot of stress on our backers. The game next weekend, even more stress on our backers. So this is probably a good weekend for us to let the young guys get some burn. But wanted to make sure that y'all did know that, but we will let y'all know if we can get to it later on at some point today. All right, so for me, the keys for Tennessee in this game is just about fundamental stuff. And these are the stats. So in a live stream, I think we might have done that on, was it Sunday? Saturday, it was something like that. Maybe that was on Sunday where, we're going through, looking at all these stats, so on and so forth. Didn't have the defensive stuff up, but this is what that was. So I wanted to kind of start things off here with Tennessee's defense and where we're ranked at in some of these categories versus the rest of the SEC. So for the team defense, that stuff's going to be on y'all's left. We had 13 missed tackles versus Alabama last week, first and foremost, which is a major problem. And then we have 85 missed tackles over the course of the year. That's tied in dead last with in this conference, which is absolutely horrible. We got to be a lot cleaner there. All right, but I think that there's a little bit of a reason as to why we're missing so many tackles, why we're dead last in so many of these categories, and we'll get to that in just a second. Obviously, outside of just pure fundamental stuff. So we do have 29 sacks, all right, which is third in the SEC. That's excellent. That's what we're doing well. We have 5 interceptions. That's pretty good. Okay, we're right in the middle of the SEC there. We have 11 forced fumbles, okay, and that's number 1. And we also have 8 fumble recoveries. That's also number 1. So doing an excellent job there. 56 tackles for loss. We're at number 3 there. So whenever you come over and look at the coverage, you can see that Tennessee has faced 315 coverage snaps so far this season. That's more than any other team in this conference. Our defense has been on the field more than any other team in this conference. And I think that with a lot of the metrics that we're, like missed tackles, we're up so high because there's a lot of opportunities for us to miss those tackles. People are getting more tired than there would be for some of these other defenses. Now, as far as the passes that we are letting the quarterbacks hit on, 67.4%, second to last in the conference. We've given up 1,852 yards passing, second to last. Touchdowns, we've given up 10, tied at 14th. We've given up 84 first downs, tied in last place. And y'all can see the yards per catch. We're 12th there. And then we have 12 penalties. All that's just within coverage. All right. And we're at number 12 right there. So the whole point here is obviously there's some metrics that our defense isn't doing a great job with. And that brings me to this point, right? What we're doing well is, sacks and all that. the sacks are leading to turnovers. Okay, the pressure is leading to the turnovers. So this is what our offense is doing, coming off of those turnovers. All right, just the turnovers that we didn't score on, just the turnovers that didn't like end the half or something like that, just the turnovers that the offense had a chance to actually do something with. So we've had 7 of those. And so versus Syracuse, we had an interception that we got in plus territory at the 25. Our opening play was a run on that drive, okay? But it did ultimately lead to a touchdown. You can see we had 2 touchdowns scored off turnovers, 1 field goal. All of those were in plus territory. So that's pretty good. Of course, you want for the field goal to actually be 6, but that's pretty positive. Outside of that, everything else has been punts. We've only passed on the opening play on the first play after a turnover 1 time. And that's, I think that was the worst field position that the offense started with. So my whole point is, man, look, after turnovers, you typically take a shot. Tennessee hasn't done that, not even once. And really, with that pass, that was versus Bama last weekend. That was a run pass option, and it was just like a little quick screen. And it wasn't well executed. It's like we weren't even ready for it. So, like, we need to try to take some shots after turnovers. It's something that we have to put on film. Our tendencies say that after turnovers, all we're doing is running the freaking football on the opening play. And that's part of the reason that we're not able to capitalize as much off of those turnovers. But we have to do a much better job there. I think that the offense can really help this defense, help the entire team out. So outside of just like the fundamental stuff, that's the main thing for the defense. I know people will point to, hey, X's and O's, maybe we could do this, maybe, we could do that. I think that we've tried pretty much everything that we can try. We've tried to run more man coverage, press man, off man. We're running more zone, having help over the top. And players have been in spots to be able to make the plays for our defense. They're just not executing. They're just not capitalizing as much as they could. So it's just, for me, with the defense, it's just about basic fundamentals. Can we do better there? Now, as I'm talking about basics, it's not just with the defense. It's also about Tennessee's offense. We got to catch the football more. We have 28 drops. It's more than anybody in this conference. The second worst team has 16 drops, which tells you how horrible Tennessee's actually doing. We might be leading the whole country in drops, which is horrible. You can see here, all right, who has the most drops. This is from Pro Football Focus. I think that these numbers are skewed because Mike Matthews, it's hard for me to believe that he only has 4 drops. I'm saying here I think he might have about like 7. I think he's leading the team in drops. And then also with missed tackles. Y'all can see how many people here just up at the top are missing tackles. A lot with Tennessee's secondary. We know, obviously, some of these guys are young, but they still have to tackle. Arion Carter, he's been hurt for most of the year. He now has 2 turf toes, like we talked about. He had 1 turf toe previously, but he has a turf toe on both of his feet. So is that making him miss tackles? Probably. All right, Boo Carter, we talked about his first half problems and just doesn't look to me like he's locked in, but got to be better there. Joshua Josephs, typically defensive linemen, they're going to be missing tackles. To me, that's not a huge deal. Obviously, he's doing a great job with getting sacks and all that, so that's not a huge deal to me. And then you're seeing right here at number 7, Edwin Spillman with 4 missed tackles, but there's a lot of other players that's tied there. So Colton Hood has 4 missed tackles. Jeremiah Thielander has 4 missed tackles. I think Jaden P has 4 missed tackles. There's several players that just aren't tackling well. So we got to get all this, we got to get that cleaned up. That's got to be the biggest. These are my real keys. If we just hit on this type of stuff, Tennessee should win this game. Now, as far as Tennessee's running backs, and I think this might be the last thing, but for Tennessee's running backs, this is what they've done over the course of the year. Again, it's based off of Pro Football Focus's numbers. So Deshaun Bishop, he's gotten the most carries, 77, 604 yards, 7 touchdowns, 30 first downs. He's averaging 7.8 yards per carry, 25% missed tackles forced rate. So I think he has 19 missed tackles forced on the year. Yards before contact is better than anybody else's on this team at 3.3%. Or I'm sorry, at 3.3 yards. And then yards after contact, that's also better than anybody else at 4.5. So we're doing a good job blocking for him. Some of that's going to be on the offensive line. Some of that's going to be with how he's running the plays that we're calling and maybe being more patient. But also, obviously, he's running through contact. He's making people miss, so on and so forth. Now, with Star Thomas, he has 65 carries, 348 yards, 4 rushing touchdowns with 1 pass catching touchdown. He has 21 first downs, all right, averaging 5.3 yards per carry. His missed tackles forced rate is higher than Bishop's by 1%. It's at 26. And then yards before contact, really low at 2 yards. That's mostly going to be on Tennessee's offensive line. And yards after contact, that looks good, 3.4 yards after contact. Now, for Peyton Lewis, 50 carries, 219 yards, 5 touchdowns, 13 first downs, 4.4 yards per carry. And 8% missed tackles force rate. He's got to do better, I think, with his vision. He does need to stop running smack dab into people all the time. But I think that like a lot of the situations that we bring him in for, it's more like short yardage situations, so he has to do that. But 1.8 yards before contact, that's the worst on the team. Again, I don't think most of that's going to be his fault. And then 2.8 yards after contact, which is also worse. And some of that's not going to be his fault either. But the whole point here, y'all, is that we have 3 good running backs. All their numbers actually look good. They're going to be like more towards the top of the SEC. So to help the team out with a lot of the like fundamental stuff, which we're seeing, it's about the defense being on the field way too long and being tired. And then with the offense, it's mostly just about dropping passes. Well, let's keep the defense off the field and let's not throw the football as much by running the ball more. Like, I love the way that we're spreading it out. It doesn't have to, I mean, look, they can all get more carries. They all need to get more carries on like a per game basis. I think this is what Tennessee has to do. You know, we were a lot more run first last year. I know that we can pass it now, but the passing game's starting to get stale too, just like from a scheme standpoint. People are starting to sit on all of our routes, and we showed that to the members in our breakdown of Tennessee's passing game versus Bama. Got to do better, man. Like, we've got to stick to the run a lot more, keep our defense fresh, and you know, guys need to start learning how to catch the football. But if we don't throw it to them as much, they won't be able to drop it as much. So that's my thoughts. You know, I think that if Tennessee can do these things coming up this weekend, we should be able to win. Now, let me make sure that that's the last thing. Yeah, so now it's kind of like getting into some of the stats and all that. So I'm going to come right back to the chat. I know that I went through, and there's a lot of things that came in, but we're going to try to get to all of them if we can. So let me see. Where do we leave off at? Wow, there's a lot that look like they came in. So we have a lot of catching up to do. Okay, so right here. All right, so Intel, okay, so I know that you're just kind of piggybacking off of what you said earlier. Thank you for that, Jeff. Thank you so much for that. Appreciate it, bro. All right, and Ben, thank you for that, Ben. Thank you, Dylan. Saying that we're on standby too at Straight Up Tennessee. Yeah, but we'll have a video out Friday morning for sure. Okay, all right, cool. That's good to know. I'm glad that you shared that with everybody. All right, so this right here from Dirty Higgins saying he's late to the party, but glad that he made it. Yes, sir. Hey, happy to have you in here. And Eric is saying, really think that we got to play more. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I 100%. Yeah, so you probably said that before I got to the point. I just wanted to show all the numbers and everything first. But so Dirty Higgins is saying that he could care less about baseball and say I say that we take all the money that we're spending on baseball and put it into football and basketball. You know, there are people who feel just like you, Higgins. And you know, there's a lot of people that love baseball though, and I'm not saying that they're wrong. You know, I'm not saying that anybody's right or wrong. I would love to be able to hold on to the baseball program. I am a football first guy, but I love anything Tennessee. So like whatever we can do for our programs to be good, I want for us to do it. But you know, I will also say that we have to be like realistic in the expectations. Football pays for everything. Like, you know, basketball can kind of pay for itself, but I mean, football can pay for not just for like all the sports, but it pays for other things up on campus, you know? So like everything really has to go there first. I think like you take care of football and really basketball first and then figure out what you want to do after that. I don't know if there's necessarily like a right or wrong answer, but I know that we will continue to have the resources for pretty much I would say all the sports that we have on campus right now. This one right here from Dirty Higgins is saying it feels to me like Kitselman is leading the team in drops. Yeah, he has some like critical drops. It feels like Mike Mack. I mean, like they all have some bad ones, but I think that that's true. And I'm going to come back to that here in just a second. All right, so this one's saying that when you got that many skilled guys dropping footballs, is that a sign of coaching problems, scouting? Hard to understand how it's so bad across multiple. Yeah, you know what? I'll be honest with you, dog. I don't know. I really don't know. It could be some of everything. Like coaches, obviously, like you're going to have a pretty strong point of emphasis in catching the football. Maybe we can do more drills where they're catching the ball. I think that like if you're a pass catcher in every single drill, you need to be catching the ball. But I would do it for everybody, really. Every skill player, there would be some form of element of like ball skills to it. Because everyone needs to be able to catch. But yeah, I don't know. It's something that the players have to look at. Like they've got to do it themselves. And I said that I would come back to the point about like Miles Kitselman, all his drops. And we also talked about this with our members that, you know, I'm getting to a point now with I don't care if you are a 5-star, if you're a 5th or 6th year senior. I don't care if you can't catch, if you can't tackle, if you can't do like basic fundamental stuff. It's time to start taking a look at some other people because this has gotten to a point that is just ridiculous. And I know that with some of these players, and I ain't trying to be counting people's pockets, But I know that some players have gotten raises. I don't know how much people are getting paid, but if you're getting raises heading into a season, okay, based off of pretty much, like talent, like the talent ceilings, then you also have to be able to, once the next time comes, it's, time for people to be getting paid or whatever. I think that the staff, and I'm sure that they got some type of a, like, AI metric system that says this is your plus and minus and how much you've helped the team win or how much you're hurting the team and maybe costing us games, so on and so forth. And I think that we need to start paying people off of that, off of what you're doing on the field. And so some people might have to take a pay cut, or maybe you got to go somewhere else. And I think that the staff would help them go somewhere else. Like, hey, we'll help you find a place. We don't wish bad on you, but we're here trying to win. But on the other side of the coin, if you're doing well, and maybe you need to get a raise. But that's what needs to start happening, because this is a business. And since it's a daggum business, we have to operate it that way and not so much off of anything else. Because the stars and all that stuff, that don't matter. Whether it's 5 stars or whether it's 3 stars. J.C. Perry was a 3-star coming out. One of the best offensive linemen in the whole country right now. He's just a sophomore, right? He's one of the best in the entire country, for like out of anybody. Okay, it doesn't matter what their class is. 3-star. He's playing well, so on and so forth. Y'all get what I'm saying, right? We got to do more of that. Like, that's the only way. That's the only way that it's going to work with this climate in college sports now. But yeah, I'm getting sick of it, man. I am, and I don't care necessarily how much of a leader you are off the field, because that's not really helping us win ball games. That doesn't really matter to me. Can you catch when it counts? Or can you block when it counts? Can you tackle when it counts? Can you cover when it counts? Can you make plays for us? Can you help us win? If not, none of that other stuff even matters. It's bottom line for me. But that's just me. Obviously I'm not coaching the team, so I can't say what the staff is going to do one way or the other. But let me try to get back to some more of these chats, man. There's a lot coming in, so I'm having to scroll until I can get to the next one. Okay, so this one right here from Alexander saying that Boo Carter acts like he's just filling a spot. I don't think he wants to be here. And you could be right. You could be right. I heard from some of the insiders that it felt like he was more like engaged with the team last weekend. And sometimes like big rivalry games, that can do it to you. I have no idea what it is, but same thing, man. It's just bottom line. Doesn't really matter. Either you can play or either you are going to play or you're not. And I'm talking about playing well. We need a lot better effort out of several people. All right, so this one, excuse me. So just wishing Tony V well. Yeah, man. He's definitely taking us to a different level. So I don't think that we're gonna go back to where we were before he was here because he left. That's just me personally. I don't think so. All right, and Eric says give Bishop 70% of the carries. And so this is kind of like what the point was in what I had brought up earlier, and I feel what you're saying. I don't think that that's necessary. I don't, because if you do it, I think that Dylan Sampson got about 70% of the carries last season, and he couldn't help us in the playoffs. I think that we have 3 good running backs, and really, we have more. But we have 3 guys that we can rotate. I love that we are rotating because we can keep them fresh so that we can still rotate when it really counts. The colder it gets, the deeper that we get into the season. I mean, that Vanderbilt game at the end, going down to the swamp, obviously Oklahoma, we're going to need to rotate guys and keep them fresh. I think that they can all do well. But, Bishop needs to get most of the carries. But I don't know. For me, I wouldn't say 70%. Maybe about 45. How would this work? 45, 25. I don't know. I'm not trying to add it up. So like 45% to maybe 50% for Bishop, and then Star Thomas would get the second most, and then Peyton Lewis gets the third most. That's how I would do it personally. All right. So from Jeff, what are Kentucky's strengths, offense and defense, key personnel, or have you gotten that? Yeah. So we actually had the video that came out yesterday, so we can kind of go through. And but yeah, we broke it all down in the video yesterday. But let me go through and just try to like touch on your points real quick. Give me just a second, man, so I can. Okay, here we go. Boom. All right, so this is their defense, or this is our defense versus our offense. Y'all can see what the blue chip ratio is. We'll kind of go through quickly. This is their 2 deep. This is the stats. If you have to pause it, you could pause it. But so this is for their offense, right? This is just like an overview of everything. So I think that their weakness is that their quarterback isn't super accurate, especially with more like vertical passes, but he's capable. He's a young guy, 6'5", 220. He has a good arm. He's just not always, with him being a redshirt freshman, some of the situations are going to be tough for him. You know, he doesn't always do the right thing with the football, but he is capable. They got some guys. I think that they've got some good wide receivers. They got some tough wide receivers. They got one running back that's 6 feet, 215, really fast, really twitchy. Not the best in between the tackles, right? But yeah, y'all can see all the weaknesses to the right. And these are their guys, right? So they've got some not huge wide receivers, but I think that they, again, just tough. They use their tight ends a lot. A whole lot of heavy personnel sets. Their tight ends, they're good pass catchers. Number 87, he's not up here, but he's also pretty good. He kind of like double clutches the catches more than the other ones do. But yeah, they're about 3 deep with some really solid tight ends. All right. So now this is how their defense looks versus our offense. Very close in the talent gap. They are talented. I think that it might be. This is their 2 deep with their defense. I think that they're more talented maybe than Mississippi State and than Arkansas. Obviously, that's just on paper. They don't have like Taylor Green. Their offense isn't that complicated. But this is, what I see with their defense, just like different personnel sets, so on and so forth, the different coverages that they like to run. They run some funky looking coverages that I think could give Tennessee some problems. But which is why I'm saying, like, we got to stick to the run. They're not good at stopping the runs. They go to the edge, like the off tackle runs. They're not really great at that. They're not great at stopping different option things, misdirections. They're not good at like the flood concepts because of their style of defense. Like their linebackers, they don't do the best job out in coverage of getting to the right spots and things like that. They struggle versus mobile quarterbacks. It's like some of the same stuff that everybody kind of struggles with. You know what I mean? So I mean that just like in a nutshell, right? Just a really really quick. Try to go through that very quickly for you. If y'all want to know more about it, we can come back to it some. But obviously you can just go back to the video that we had up for y'all yesterday, and it breaks down everything. But yeah, I mean this is a game that I think that they're better than what their record shows. There's not going to be any easy SEC games. It's not like the Big Ten or nothing like that. It's not like the ACC or, every game's going to be somewhat tough going on the road. I don't know if it's a night game or not, but it might be kind of cold up there. It always sucks going up there. They can do some good things. You know what I'm saying? They can do some good things. The biggest challenge for Tennessee is, can we be fundamentally sound? And can our young linebackers, can they step up and can they play well? That's pretty much it. If Tennessee does those things, and then also stick to the run. I'm going to keep on saying we got to stick to the run game more. But if Tennessee does that, then we should be fine. All right, so let's move on to Jeff. So Jeff is saying if Mike wants to be malcontent this offseason, like, boo, let him walk. Yeah, it is. And you know what? It's not even so... Ra-Ra's supposed to be back this weekend. So, again, that's something else with the injury list that comes out tonight. That's going to be, we have to watch out for it. You know what I'm saying? And see, is Ra-Ra going to be back? Because I think it's time for him to get some more reps. I do. And obviously he's been hurt, so he couldn't get the rest. But even when he wasn't, I think we've seen enough now. And I'm not taking a shot at anybody, but I am saying, look, we're shorthanded at wide receiver. We've got to build some depth. That's another reason that you want to, don't throw it as much. Don't make that have to, run as many routes and stuff. Try to keep them fresh. I think that Coach Pope talked about it some, that they call their plays and stuff differently because of the lack of depth there. So it just makes the most sense, man. Like, we can block well. We got a great offensive line, and we can run the football. We got several backs. Lean on that, bro. Like, let's just lean on that. Let's try to work in some young pass catchers, and maybe the pass game takes a little bit of a step forward. If we got to pass it, and of course you just got to pass it, but it needs to be, we don't care who knows that we're running it here, or we're running it here, and y'all can't stop it. See, like, that'll give me a ton of confidence because that's what we're going to need moving forward. That's like playoff winning football. And I think that we got the quarterback who can do some good things. Didn't show it as much versus Bama in some critical situations. But for the most, I mean, he did some nice things as well. But Eric is saying that Mike will get it figured out. Good kid seems like, yeah, listen, I think that they're all good kids, but Mike for sure. Mike is a good kid. Don't take it like I'm just picking on him because I'm talking about everybody. It's just we've got to be more consistent. It doesn't matter who you are. Like we have to be better. All right, so this one, saying that all pass catchers need to practice with rugby balls. Okay, yeah, so those are bigger footballs. I don't know what the difference is in the texture. I don't know if it's leather like a football. I say NFL footballs. The reason for it is because it's going to be the same shape as a college ball. It's just bigger. It's going to be bigger. To me, they're actually, in some ways, they're a little bit easier to catch. But it's a good hand exercise because they're bigger. Now, with the rugby football, I think it's more like long and flat or something. That might not necessarily be the best thing, but I understand what you're saying. They need to do something different. Like they need to be on the jugs a lot more. and we might get some broken fingers and all that. But dog, you can tape them bad boys together. You can still go catch when it counts. But they're gonna have to put in some extra work. It's inexcusable to have dropped this many footballs. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So right here, Golis was known for ripping dudes when. Okay, yeah, he was. I wonder if we have too many nice guys on the offensive staff. Hype's biggest strength, he's a player's coach, is a weakness if players don't react. So one of the things that I can tell y'all for sure about Coach Heupel, he ain't afraid he will rip players. You don't see it all the time, but he's not afraid to lay into them. He might not be as much as Golis was, which I don't really, like, I can't think, it was such a long time ago. I can't think of Golis doing it, but I'm sure that he did. It feels like he is a meaner guy, you know, but yeah, I don't even know, like Coach Sims. I think he coaches hard. Coach Abe, I think he's more of like a talker, more of a teacher, which can be fine. Coach Pope seems like, I don't know necessarily. I think he's probably, I think they're probably fun from that standpoint. I do, honestly. And then like kids these days, I don't know how much they like. It's different personalities, right? But it's not like when I was coming up. I mean, it wasn't a big deal. Like every coach was ripping kids, you know, so that it wasn't like a big deal. Like people weren't crying and stuff. It was just part of the game. So I don't know if that could be negative too, but something does need to change. I'm not saying that you're wrong by any means, because you could be 100% right. All that I am saying is something has to change. The coaches have to try to tweak some things. The players damn sure better be putting in extra work and trying to tweak some stuff. Just everything that we could possibly think of. You know, we had to get better. And something else with our pass catchers, especially with like the wide receivers, I've seen us cutting routes short too often. I've seen us not getting to the right spot in our routes too often. I've seen us tripping and falling too often. Gotta be better with all that. You know, like we have good athletes, but I think that they could be just because they're, you know, probably tired. But you really shouldn't be tired. You know what I'm saying? Like you really can't be tired. But these kids are just built differently, man. All right, so Jeff is saying, well to tough coaching. Yeah. So DJ Bruce Cash is saying that he feels like the drops have been more consistent through Hendo, Joe, Nico, and Joey than we really give credit for. So more consistent. I'm not quite sure what you mean there. Are you saying that maybe it's more on the quarterback's fault, or I'm not quite sure what you're saying. So Tennessee last season, actually, we had the second most drops in the SEC. We were right there behind Texas and Georgia. They were tied at 30. We've already tied, like we had 28 drops last season. We've already tied that mark so far this year. So it's actually gotten worse, but it was bad last year. I couldn't tell you what the numbers were previously. But maybe it does have something to do with the quarterbacks. I know that the passes aren't always perfect. Please don't look. Joey's got to be better with his ball placement too. But at the same time, you know, if he puts it in a place where the wide receivers can make the catch, they can get even one hand on it. You got to make that catch. Not even just wide receivers, tight ends and running backs. People have got to catch the football, and that to me it's just a concentration thing. You know what I'm saying? It's very similar to tackling for me. It's like just coming up, I never had problems catching the football. Not to say that I caught everything, but it was just like, dog, if you watch it in, you should be able to catch it. It doesn't matter if people are hanging all over you. Just go get it. So I don't know what has to happen, but something has to change. And actually, let me come back to the drops while we're on that. So just with what's showing here, these ain't all the drops because there's just more. I just wanted to show y'all like the top 7 for the drop. It's not all the missed tackles either. But we have just within like the top 7 running backs. So Peyton Lewis has 2, Bishop has 3. All right, so that's 5 coming from the backs. Way too much because we could also throw it to them more. Like that, they're open a lot. I think that we stopped throwing it to them because they stopped catching it. You know, and that's another thing with Star Thomas. I think he's a much more fluid pass catcher. That's an element to his game. But I think they all need a little bit more of that. I also think they're doing a good job in like pass blocking. Let me make sure that I say that. Okay. But then with the wide receiver, so Staley has 5. They're saying that Mike has 4. And then Brazo has 2. Brazo led the team in drops last season, y'all. He's doing a much better job. Second most was Mike Matthews. And obviously he didn't play that much. He didn't get that many targets. So he's going to have to really work on it. Extra, like overtime. But yeah, so y'all can see how many's there for the tight ends. It's kind of shocking that Brame, he has 2 so far as well. But some of that might just be because most of his reps have come, or those 2 drops, I think, came versus Bama last week. Kind of a tough situation just to throw a guy out there. But, you know, he looks good running the routes, catching the football. So does Jack. You know, that's not really that's not really Miles Kitselman's forte. He's not the best there. He was better than we thought he'd be coming in. but that's not really what he does. All right, so let me get to some more of these. Let's get to some more of these chats. So this one saying that the Ravens, Saints, and Bama practice with rugby balls. The smoothness helps you practice. Okay, interesting. I did not know that. So they're more slick, and that's what helps. Okay. So hey, that you might be on to something. And something else that we can do is, dude, like wet the freaking footballs. Like make it as difficult as possible on these players to catch the football in practice, so that in the games it becomes a lot easier. Like that's what you should do. All right, so yeah, for sure. And he's saying here that wish that there was a way to submit good ideas to coaches. Not saying that they should listen to fans. Yeah, I mean for sure. And you know that's not even like we're just kind of like throwing things out there, right? Because we're thinking, right? They're never going to see this stuff. They're never going to listen to what we say. But we're just thinking, like we're just throwing out some things. Like, well, they have to try something because what we've been doing, and everyone's bringing up great points, but like what we've been doing, it just really doesn't seem like it's. I'm not gonna say that it's failing, because I still think that we have a good football team, but it could be significantly better. If we just clean up drops and missed tackles, we would only have one loss. I mean, you know, we might not have any losses, but we, you know, for sure would beat Georgia. You know. You know, we had a chance to go beat freaking Alabama too. Just think about how many big runs, how many big plays came off missed tackles. Again, 13 of them. That's horrible. But that's pretty much it, man. You know, I just want to come in here and I guess you know, drop the news about Tony V, which it's tough, but I think the Tennessee's going to be fine. You know what I'm saying? Like Tennessee, I mean, as fans, of course, we're going to feel some type of way. I don't know if Danny White or whoever's going to make a public statement for the fans and say, hey, you know, we're on the hunt to figure it out. But I think we'll probably get it figured out pretty quickly. I'm sure that they've already been looking, and I'm sure that Danny White's got it. You know, I'm sure that he has a good idea of who he wants, of what he wants, and it's going to be beneficial not just for the baseball team, but for all of Tennessee sports, because he's a big picture guy. He's a very forward-thinking guy. And hey, like a lot of people said, I wish Tony V well. You know, hope that he does well. Hope that we can hold on to our players. I hope that they want to keep on playing hard. And, you know, we'll see how things play out. Obviously, baseball season's coming up. But with all that being said, y'all, please do us a favor. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. And, you know, we will be back at some point. Not quite sure when. For the members, though, we will try to get out. We have one more breakdown for versus Alabama, and I think it's Tennessee's run defense. We might have that out tonight, might not, might have it out for y'all at some point tomorrow. But thank y'all so much, and we will be talking